Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Happy Friday. This is Blackheart6. Here we go. We're going to be doing a video on using the scenario framework with animation waypoints. Okay, it takes a little bit of work to use them to make them work right. So, and in this video here, we're going to be working in my scenario MilOps 2, not the scenario framework wiki. I will move this stuff over and copy it over as soon as I can. The reason is because I'm doing work on this product and we want to utilize this stuff within this. Okay, so the first thing, just a word about animations. I don't use cutscenes in multiplayer. Obviously, cutscenes are more designed for a single player scenarios. So when I do use animations, when I think about how I want to use animations, what I want to do is I want to bring the AI to life and make them more realistic by doing, certain tasks, not just walking around and, from building to building or walking around within a building. You want them to be doing things to make it more realistic for the players when they come in. So that's how I, utilize animations. Now, what we've got here is we've got this hangar area over by the airbase. So we're on Arland, and we're over by the airbase, and we have a set of hangars. So I've got a area. Okay, this is how I break down the hierarchy. I have an area called airbase, which covers the entire airbase, and then I have another layer called airbase buildings, and then I have barracks, and then I have hangars, plural. And then I have the HQ, which is over here. So in the hangars, we have a layer. So we have a layer called hangars. And then inside that layer, we have an airbase hangar 1, which will be this first hangar right here. As soon as I get done with all this, we will put and move everything into there. Okay. Right now, I am working over here exterior, so I can spread things out and do my testing over here, and then I will compress it all down and stick it in here and then run it again. Okay, within the airbase hangar 1, I have airbase hangar personnel 1, and I have airbase hangar waypoint system 1. So each one of these layers, this first one, personnel, it contains my slot AI and my slot, and then airbase hangar waypoint system 1, I have my individual waypoints that I'm going to be using in this demonstration. We're not going to use E, so let's get rid of that. And now we're just going to be working with these 4 waypoints for this purpose. I'm going to expand this out and use more waypoints, but for this video and just show you how to do this, I'm just going to work with these 4 waypoints here. Now, let's run a demonstration of this so I can show you what's going to happen. We have a AI right here, and he is this guy, okay? And then we have a AI mechanic over here, okay, working on a generator, all right? And then this here is a helo. I've got a MI8 that's going to spawn in. I'll use that over there in the hangar itself, and we're going to adjust some of this stuff to set the scene. But for right now, I've got it turned off, unenabled. Okay, so let's play this, and I got to get out of here. We're going to play from camera position. Okay, so there's the officer. Now he's on a defend waypoint. Okay. So the first thing is the patrol waypoint. So he's moving to the patrol waypoint right now, which is over by the mechanic. He's hit the stop. Now he's walked over to the animation. And now the animation waypoint is running. This animation waypoint is going to run for 30 seconds. This animation comes from the tutorial of the officer talking at the map. If you've done the tutorial, he's got an animation in there where the officer is talking over a map and pointing at things. Okay, that animation completed, and then it assigned the next waypoint, which is a patrol waypoint. So that officer is going to walk. Or this is unarmed. Sorry, he's not an officer. He gets to that waypoint. He stops. And then the next waypoint I have him doing is, just for demonstration, is push-ups. Okay, so then he will continue to do this waypoint until we act upon it and make him do another waypoint. So right now this is D. This is waypoint D that we saw in there. Okay? All right, so now how do we do all this? Okay, so first of all, let's go over the properties of each one of these objects. Now, what I've done is I've pulled my screen out, and I'm going to keep it over here so I can expand it more, make it a little different here. Let's kind of position this thing. All right, so let's start at the top, and we're going to go through all these components so we know that, you know, what is what. Let's see here. Collapse all groups. Okay, so on the area, so I've got this area, and everything I believe is set to default. So spawn all children, 100%, no changes there. Asset, no change. Debug, no change. Activation is going to be on a knit, and I am using a dynamic despawn in this case of 1,000 meters, okay, for the radius. You know, of course, you can adjust that and set that as you need, or not even use it if you don't want to. Key thing is it's on a knit. Nothing in the on a knit category. And then plugins, nothing. Trigger, nothing. On activation, nothing. And then unsorted, of course, is enabled. All right. The next layer is going to be buildings. So we come down to the buildings. Children, same default. Asset, nothing. Nothing on the debug. Activation is the same as parent instead of on a knit because we're referencing back to the area. On a knit, no actions there. Plugins, no plugins. And then, of course, it's enabled. All right. Now we come down to the next one, which is going to be hangers. Same thing. This is all default. I was using a dynamic despawn. That's why I set to 200, but we can set that back to that. So just, you know, FYI. That's all default. Nothing on the init. Plugins, nothing. And, of course, unsorted is enabled. And then we have another layer. This is the individual hanger. Same thing. It's all default. No changes to any of this. Okay. And then inside the hanger, we have two layers, personnel and then the waypoints. So in the personnel, it's all default. No changes. Okay. And then same with this layer. And the reason I'm doing this is just to physically show you, hey, there's been no changes to any of this stuff, versus going up here and clicking on this saying, well, you know, show modified properties only. It gets, you know, this is much cleaner. I make sure that I cover all these categories in. Okay, so now in the airbase hangar personnel, we have three objects in there, three components. We have the AI officer, and then we have the helo, which I said while positioned inside the hangar, and then we have this mechanic slot AI, and you saw that he was doing an animation as well. So this is a special prefab, and what we'll do is we'll go over this. Let's see. Need to move this out of the way. I'm gonna pull this off screen so you can't see it for right now. So if you go into your resource browser and you type in mechanic, okay, there is a prefab in here there is a prefab in here called mechanic.et. And what it is, it's a U.S. soldier that is working on a generator. Okay? So what I did was I overrode that and I edited. So I edit the prefab, overrode it, edit the prefab, and put Russian clothes on him and changed his faction affiliation to Russian. So if you go over here, here's what he looks like. If we drag and drop this, I'll show you this real quick. I don't want to get into this. This is editing prefab stuff. If you drag and drop it and then do a search for faction, you change his faction affiliation to USSR. And then, of course, you can go down and go to loadout, and you can change all his uniform items right here. So I put a Russian hat, a TTSKO hat on him, and then the same with the jacket. Put that jacket on him, which is that camouflage pattern. And then changed his pants and boots and gloves and made him, a Russian, look like a Russian basically. Okay, so that's how you do that. Let me move this back out of the way so I know what I'm doing here. Okay, so that's where this guy comes from. Okay, you can delete this generator out. You can get rid of this mesh. This is a mesh object. If you remove the mesh object, it gets rid of the generator, but it leaves him working on animation. So then you can put him in front of a tire or something, or maybe on an engine, just depending on how you position him. Okay. All right, so that's where this mechanic comes from, and I have him on a slot AI. And there's a reason why I'm doing it this way as far as this window goes, these object properties, because this is going to get very convoluted real quick here. So we have the mechanic. There's nothing special about him other than he's the asset. That's the only thing that has changed in here. There's no other changes to any of these categories. The only thing I changed was the mechanic and assigned him to the slot AI. Okay. The next one is the helo. Well, no, I'm not even going to let's not even discuss that. I've got it deactivated right now. It's just a slot with a helo attached to it for the asset. I did an override on this prefab and removed the rotor because the rotors don't fit in the hangar. So I took the rotor off the helicopter so that it will fit in the hangar properly. Pardon me. The other thing we want to discuss is all these waypoints down here. So we have this waypoint layer. There's no changes in that. It's all default. No changes. Each one of these waypoints, so on the slot waypoint, in the children, it's all default, all. Nothing in the asset, of course, because it's a slot waypoint. Debug is checked. You can uncheck that if you want, depending on what you want to do. We'll leave them checked for right now. As a matter of fact, I'm going to check all these. And then in activation, same as parent, no changes there. On init, no changes. Plugins, no changes. Randomization, nothing. Composition, nothing. And then, of course, on waypoint is where all the work is taking place on the slot waypoint. And for this one here, we assigned a patrol waypoint. Didn't change any of these settings down here. It's just a patrol waypoint. On waypoint B, it's the same thing on all the attributes and categories, except for this one here, we set to a animation waypoint. So there's a scenario framework waypoint animation, and it's using the AI waypoint animation. Completion type is left default, no priority level. And then in this animation class, right now there's only like 5 classes you can use. So if you get here and you say set class, it brings this pop up, and so hopefully they will expand this list here and allow you to use more. You could probably script in, I imagine you could script in additional animations, but you know, you'd have to go through and figure all that out. It's beyond the scope of this video for right now. So you select the set class, and you can see here, here's the 5 classes that you can use. You can't use base. It's the base of all these. So in our case here, we're going to use officer mission table. And this animation is from the tutorial where the officer is standing over the table and pointing at the map. So that will kind of give us a little bit of an animation as he stands over the soldier, pointing things out. We're going to set a duration of 30 seconds. This is by default set to -1. That means it runs forever. Okay, so you don't want that. You have to put a time in here so that the animation will finish, and it will give it its outro. And then here on the local transform, it says animation local transform. If you hover over it, it tells you description is animation position and angles, use point info. So what you have to do is hit select class, go down to point info, select that, and then you can set positioning of the animation. Now for us, our purposes, we're going to leave everything at 0. Okay, we're not going to edit any of that. All right, this is how you set up a scenario framework waypoint animation on the waypoint settings. Okay, the next waypoint is going to be the patrol waypoint again. All right, so he's going to move from the generator over to that position, and then that's where he went to do waypoint D, which is he did push-ups. Okay, and we left that running at infinity. So, but let's try something here. Let's run this for 5 seconds and then see what happens. And we're going to put the point info on there. It did run without it, so but let's see what happens. Let's keep it in there, make sure we've got it. So we have a 5 second on that. All right. Now, so these are the waypoint setups. Here's where all the work comes in. It's all done on the slot AI, and this is why I expanded this window out so you can see all this stuff, because it's going to get very convoluted. So on the slot AI, first of all, children's all default. Asset, we're using this Navy Infantry unarmed as our asset. Debug is not checked. Activation, same as parent, no changes there. On init is where all the work is. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this. I'll come back to it. No plugins. Randomization, none. Composition, none. Waypoints. For the default, now default waypoint on this guy is a defend waypoint. There is a new waypoint called small combat ops interior. So we're going to use that one there. And it kind of makes him move around but keeps it smaller. We're going to make that the default. Not that it really impacts this. Balance is none. Common is all default. And then, of course, unsorted is checked. Now, back to on init. So the very first thing you want to do is to get this to work is you must add a wait and execute. Okay, always use a wait and execute. And put on that wait and execute a delay around 3 to 5 seconds. I use 5 seconds. I've looked at Combat Ops for the new map for Combat Ops Kane, and it shows like 3 seconds on some of his stuff. So I like to use 5. And then in the actions, what you want to do is add one action to the wait and execute called Action AI. All right. And then in that, you want to leave everything here as default. Now on Action AI, because we're using it on a slot AI here, Hanger AI1, we do not have to set this class. If it's not attached to a slot AI, then you must set the class. And if you hover over that, it tells you that the target slot AI for AI action, if left empty, will attempt to retrieve it from the slot if it is attached to. Okay. Additionally, you can use get array of layer bases, and this action will be executed on all of them. If it doesn't work, if you're using referencing a single slot AI though, you can use in the layer, and let's say you apply this to the layer above, you can use spawned object and then point to the name of it. Okay, but in this case here, we have it attached to the slot AI. We do not have to use a getter here. Okay, and then in AI actions, okay, we expand this out. We added 2 actions. So we added 2 actions to this. We have a add waypoint to the AI, and then on waypoint completed. So what we're doing is we are going to add that single waypoint A, the first waypoint A, to the AI. Okay, and then it's going to be get layer base. If you hover over the getter, it tells you use get layer base. So you use that getter, and then you add it. Check add to the top of the queue because you want it to take over from that defend waypoint. That defend interior waypoint, you want to add this to the top of that queue. And then you want to clear that defend waypoint so that if it's checked, any previous waypoints will be clear and it will stop using that waypoint. This should be default for you. Whenever you use this add waypoint, always check these 2 boxes to, because you're working with individual waypoints at this point. And then what we're going to say is so we added the waypoint, and then we say on waypoint completed, all right, do this. So we come down here, and we have a get layer base, all right, it automatically selects this. It says slot waypoint that spawns the waypoint. So if we go back here and we click on this, it automatically selects get layer base. It will not do that up here in this one. Okay, get layer base, you have to tell it. This one, it automatically does it, so maybe they'll make a change to that since this is what it's supposed to use. And then, of course, it's going to be, you put in the get layer base, it's going to be the waypoint that has completed. Okay, so that's the the waypoint that completed. So that's what we're going to point it to, and of course that comes from up here, the same waypoint we just added. Then what you do is once you say, okay, on waypoint completed, get waypoint A, actions on waypoint completed. So what are we going to do once that waypoint completes? Well, we're going to add another waypoint. So we have to do another action AI, and we're going to do another add waypoint, and that waypoint is going to be waypoint B. Okay, that's the animation waypoint. And the same thing, add on top of Q, clear the previous waypoints. This is where this starts to get very convoluted. As you can see, we're working down through this hierarchy here, and we're getting more and more and more to get this to complete. So it's a lot of work, but once you get it to go, it works great. So, and then on animation waypoint started, this is different from up here. Okay, we changed from add waypoint on waypoint completed. All right, we changed that to on animation waypoint started. And the reason we did that is because this is an animation waypoint. B is an animation waypoint, and once you set that waypoint up, you can't just move on to a next waypoint. It never moves. It will start that waypoint. You have to tell it to break that animation, basically, and then do something else afterwards. So that's why that's why they have this action here, is on animation waypoint started. So it's B, get layer base again, same thing. Slot waypoint that spawns the waypoint. So you use get layer base. And then it says actions on waypoint completed. Okay, this is all part of this animation started, right? So we got animation started, and then actions on waypoint completed. same thing. You do an action AI. Okay, let me back up a bit. So, because there's more to this. So, and it will get lost down below. So, on animation waypoint started, the getter is going to be B. All right. Then actions on waypoint completed, we added an action AI. But down below that, it says remove on completed, we've checked. Evaluation state is on the out. If you see here, you have 4 choices: none, in, out, both. Okay, so this would be the intro or the start of the waypoint animation. You can consider this the outro or the end of the waypoint animation, or both. If you set this to in or both, as soon as the animation starts, he'll move to the next waypoint, which is not what you want. So you have to select out when the animation completes, which will be in 30 seconds. That's where we set that timer. And then animation index is left at default as -1. It doesn't have any information on this yet, so I don't know what it does. It's obviously an animation index number that if you probably dig into the animation files and look at that indexing, that's probably where that number is going to come into play at. Okay, so this is how you set up on animation waypoint started. The getter is going to be the animation waypoint, and then actions on the waypoint completed, you must put this information in here, and you want to use the out. Okay, so now as you drill down in that, we added an action AI. Okay, and then of course AI actions, again we said add another waypoint, so we're going to add another waypoint. And getter, same thing, we're going to go to waypoint C, put it on the top, clear the previous waypoints, and then tell it on waypoint completed. When you complete waypoint C, which is the patrol waypoint, we want you to do this. And then of course we do the same thing. On waypoint completed, the getter is going to be the waypoint that completed, which is C. And then actions on waypoint completed, we do another action AI. Don't have to set the class because it's on the slot still. And then AI actions, we're going to add another waypoint. And in this case here, we're going to stop. So we're going to add waypoint D, which is the animation waypoint, to do the push-ups. And we clear on top of Q, clear the previous waypoints. Nothing else is going to happen here. So we're going to stop it right here at this point, and he will just do the push-ups. Okay, so that's the layout. As you can see, you can get lost in it very quick. The key thing, I think, is work through it one step at a time. Label your waypoints in some kind of fashion that you know the order of them. So as you can see here, I labeled them WP A, B, C, and D. And then that way I can keep track of everything that I'm doing down here in the properties. So add waypoint, I know that it's going to be A. And then I know B's next, D. So that way you have some kind of organization. That would be my tip to you. Okay, let's run this again just one more time real quick. What are we looking at time? Yeah, 30 minutes. Took a while. I knew it would. Oh, shit. Okay, so there it broke his defend waypoint, and it's moving him back over here. So that's going to be add waypoint A. He gets to waypoint A, it completes. He's going to add the animation at waypoint. Run for 30 seconds. Then that waypoint is going to stop. And then he's going to move over here. This is waypoint C. He'll get to C. C will stop. Then it will add D. D will run and he'll do the push-ups. Now I want to see what happens when he finishes these push-ups after 5 seconds. There's the patrol waypoint. And he gets back up. So he he did 5 seconds worth of push-ups, and he got back up. So there you go. He doesn't do them for infinity. You can't assign an endpoint to that, and he'll finish and stand back up. Okay. All right. That's it. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Y'all have a great day.